One reason we do not have a sense of our purpose or role in the world generally is that we do not examine deeply our inner predilections or the trajectory of our lives. We interpret our lives based on external criteria and motives without appreciating that there is another driving force behind that helps to create the circumstances, opportunities, and directions we wind up taking in our lives. In some cases, we interpret negative events as interfering with our lives, when in fact, they may be the prod that moves us into a more certain direction to grow into our life's work. The instances of the individual struck by lightning, burdened by obstacles or illnesses, or as a victim of poisoning, all represent what we would consider to be negative events in a life. But in each case, they move the individual into a new, positive direction aligned with a deeper aspiration that was covered over by the external life and its demands and expectations. An American youth recounted his experience of studying the German language for 4 years during high school and added additional courses during 2 years in college, although he had no plans to do anything in Germany. Later on, unexpectedly, he wound up living and working in Germany, developing long-term business alliances with a number of German firms after he returned to the USA, and marrying a woman from Germany and developing close ties with her family over many years. At the time of taking up the language, he had no sense that he would utilize his study of the language in such an expansive way as his life unfolded. Another incident was recounted by a person who had gone to stay for some time at Sri Aurobindo Ashram in Puducherry, India. While he was there, he was in contact regularly with Sri M.P. Pandit. At one point, Sri Pandit asked him to write an article for his service letter on the need for accounting in Mother's service. He had no background in accounting or bookkeeping or business matters, so he was mystified about the request. But he carried it out. It turned out that much later he wound up in operation of a business and found the value in accounting. It is easier to reflect back upon one's life to see the major transitions and the trajectory than it is to identify these things in advance. It is, however, not impossible. If one examines one's interests, concerns, area of focus, and dedicated effort, one can begin to recognize a certain trajectory and line of development. For most people, this is not something they consider to be important, as they live their lives without much consideration for their mission or purpose. Those who are called to the spiritual life, however, may find it useful to reflect and observe closely to see where they are being pointed and with what capabilities they either have naturally or are developing through their experience and education. The mother observes, quote, "Until we know the essential thing we are intended to do, we must therefore find a temporary occupation which will be the best possible manifestation of our present capacities and our goodwill. Then we shall give ourselves to this occupation with conscientiousness and perseverance, knowing that it may well be only a stage, and that with the progress of our ideal and our energies, we shall certainly one day be led to see more clearly the work we must accomplish. To the extent that we lose the habit of referring everything to ourselves and learn more and more to give ourselves more completely, with greater love, to earth and men, we shall see our horizons widen and our duties become more numerous and clear. We shall find that our action follows a general line of progression determined by our own particular temperament. Indeed, the successive occupations we shall hold before we become conscious of the definitive form of our action will always point in the same direction, be of the same type and mode, which is the spontaneous expression of our character, our nature, our own characteristic vibration. the discovery of this tendency, this particular orientation, should come about quite naturally. It is a matter of taste and free choice, beyond all outer selfish considerations." End quote. Reference, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, Looking from Within, Chapter 3, Action and Work, pages 58 to 61.